Okay. Razzies. Final predictions for the Razzie Awards, which are coming up on March 1st, the day before the Oscars. We have the big winners for the worst in cinema of 2024, and I thought it would be fun today to give you a video like, what do I think is actually going to win? In picture, director, the acting categories. Let's get into it, and let's start with Worst Picture of the Year. The nominees are Borderlands, Joker, Folie à Deux, Madame Web, Megalopolis, and Reagan. Okay, so in preparation for this predictions video, I watched, in the last few days, Reagan and Borderlands. Oh my god. Were these movies so horrible in a variety of ways? I mean, I made my worst of 2024 video without having seen those two films, and yeah, those two would have made that list, to be sure. Which one's worse? I mean, like, in some ways, Reagan was a little bit better produced, I would say, but Reagan is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and Borderlands was like a little over 90 minutes. But yeah, I was thinking like, well, maybe one of these two might surprise me. Maybe one will be okay. No, they're both really bad. Clearly the best film in the worst picture lineup at the Razzies this year is Joker 2. That's easily the best of these five. That's the only one I can see myself maybe watching again at some point in the future. I really hope they don't give Worst Picture to Joker 2, you know, just because it's like the biggest movie, like, flop of these five, like the one that everybody was excited to see, and it did not deliver for that audience. So I could see them just going all in on Joker 2 and, you know, including actor and actress. I hope that doesn't happen. That wouldn't feel right to me. I mean, nothing really feels right at the Razzies, you know, like whatever. But like, you know, Joker 2, it's very flawed, but it's not the worst of the year, especially compared to these other four in the category. These other four are truly horrendous. My vote would go to Megalopolis. I think that's the worst film here. That is still my choice for the worst movie of 2024, even now having watched these other two films, Reagan and Borderlands. I'm still going with Megalopolis. But here's what I'm feeling. In terms of what I think is actually going to win, I think it's going to be Madame Web, right? I feel like Madame Web is the movie they're going to give some trophies to, right? Like they're actually going to award. I mean, it might not sweep and win a bunch of things, but I feel like in Worst Picture, you know, there's going to be enough people who maybe see some decent qualities, maybe, in Megalopolis. You know, Borderlands could also take it. I mean, that, you know, got into a bunch of categories. I feel like it's between Borderlands and Madame Web, and I just feel like there was more hate ultimately toward Madame Web. So in a close race, you know, it's so silly, right? Trying to predict what's going to win the Razzie. This is really silly, to be honest. My vote here, I'm thinking it's Madame Web, you know, outside of a surprise. So my final prediction to win Worst Picture at the Razzies this year is Madame Web. Okay, Worst Director is next. The nominees are S.J. Clarkson, Madame Web, Francis Ford Coppola, Megalopolis, Todd Phillips, Joker, Folie à Deux, Eli Roth, Borderlands, and Jerry Seinfeld, Unfrosted. So here is like this one's the head scratcher to me, because I'm like, is S.J. Clarkson like well known enough to win this? Might they go with a more prominent director like a Coppola, like a Phillips? In some ways, I feel like, you know, if they want to give Worst Director to like a big prominent person, you know, Coppola, I think, is too much of a legend. I really do not see them giving Coppola Worst Director at the Razzies. I mean, it's possible, but I feel like he has enough goodwill, and because he's so old, I'm just like, would they really do that? That would surprise me, honestly. They might go with S.J. Clarkson for Madam Web if they're just like checking Madam Web off down the list. I mean, that could happen. I kind of feel like they're going to go with Todd Phillips for Joker 2. I do think they're going to give Joker 2 something at the Razzies. I mean, maybe it wins a few things. Maybe it's not just one thing. Yeah, this is a tough one. But you have to understand, if I am wrong in my Razzie predictions, I don't really give a shit. You know, it's like, we're just having fun here, guys. We're just having fun. You know, if ultimately Phillips doesn't take this and they give worst director to Eli Roth or something, I'm not going to be like, oh, I got my prediction wrong. I'll be like, oh, okay, great, fine. Again, I think the best film here and worst director is Joker 2, but like, yeah, Todd Phillips, I feel like they're gonna have it out for Todd Phillips for delivering a movie that just didn't work, especially as well as many people hoped it would. So outside of a surprise, maybe victory for Coppola here, which would surprise me, or S.J. Clarkson, if they just go with Madam Web, you know, that might happen too. I don't know. I feel like Phillips is gonna take director here. So my final prediction at the Razzies for Worst Director of the Year is Todd Phillips, Joker, Folie à Deux. Okay, Worst Actor of 2024. The nominees are Jack Black, Dear Santa, Zachary Levi, Harold and the Purple Crayon, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker, Folie à Deux, Dennis Quaid, Reagan, and Jerry Seinfeld, Unfrosted. Okay, so worst actor. Are they gonna give this to Joaquin Phoenix? Like, I mean, say what you want about that movie. He gives a very good performance in it. Like, that is not the worst acting performance of the year. Like, it's not. I think any serious person like can see that, even if they came away from Joker 2 very disappointed. Like they have to understand, like, you know, it's not Joaquin Phoenix's fault that the new Joker film did not succeed. Like, he is trying, and he's good in the movie. It's just the screenplay doesn't give him a whole lot to do. But at the same time, he is like the most high-profile actor in this category, with the most high-profile movie, disappointment, like disaster in a sense. And especially, like, with everything that went down a few months ago with Joaquin Phoenix pulling out of that Todd Haynes movie. You know, Phoenix is not in a good place right now with a lot of fans, with a lot of people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the Todd Haynes thing would really affect him, like, winning Worst Actor at the Razzies. My vote here is Dennis Quaid for Reagan. What a terrible performance. It was so distracting. Scene to scene, his like accent changes, and some moments like he really tries to sound like Ronald Reagan. Other moments he's just sounding like Dennis Quaid. Never for 1 second in that movie, for 2 hours and 20 minutes, never for a second do you forget you're watching Dennis Quaid. You never think you're looking at Ronald Reagan, ever. Like, this is not Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln where the actor just completely disappears. Reagan is so weird in that it's got a couple decent things in it, like the production design and the costume design and stuff. But like at the center of the movie, you have to have an actor who resembles, who's believable as Ronald Reagan, and Dennis Quaid never pulls that off in a single moment in that movie. So I do think the winner of Worst Actor at the Razzies this year should be Dennis Quaid for Reagan. The question is, will they give it to Quaid? Or will they give it to Phoenix? I don't think it's going to any of these other three. I mean, maybe it could be Jack Black, Zachary Levi, Jerry Seinfeld is possible, I guess? So it comes down to, like, are they really going to reward, like, the truly worst performance here? Or are they going to go with the more high-profile person, Joaquin Phoenix? I'm really torn on this. I really hope the Razzie voters do the right thing. I don't know if they ever do the right thing. Like, don't give this prize to Phoenix. That doesn't feel right to me. Come on. The winner here should be Dennis Quaid. So I'm just going to go with the one I think should win. I might be wrong. It might be Phoenix. I don't know. But my final prediction to win Worst Actor at the Razzie Awards is Dennis Quaid for Reagan. All right, Best Actress is next. The nominees are Cate Blanchett, Borderlands, Lady Gaga, Joker, Folie à Deux, Bryce Dallas Howard, Argylle, Dakota Johnson, Madam Web, and Jennifer Lopez, Atlas. Okay, Borderlands is a terrible movie. Like, in basically every way, that movie fails. It's boring, it's chaotic, it's excessive, it's ugly to look at, and most of the performances are pretty bad. Like, almost every performance is phoned in, pedestrian, obvious, tired, cliched. The performances in this movie are pretty terrible, except for Cate Blanchett. Even though I give Borderlands 1 star out of 5, I really hated it. It's a terrible way to spend 90 minutes. But she is the only actor in that movie who is trying, who is committing. Like, she is the only thing about Borderlands that is, like, somewhat interesting. The look of her character, like, certain things she does, like, with her performance throughout the movie. She has, like, these little quirky moments at times that, gave me, like, a little smile, Like, she knows she's in a piece of shit. I really do believe that. I don't think Cate Blanchett was making this movie way back in 2021. Like, this movie sat on a shelf for, like, 3 years. Like, I get the sense that she knows this is just like a paycheck movie and maybe she needed a job or something, but she's having fun with it. She's not phoning in her performance like Jamie Lee Curtis does. This is one of Jamie Lee Curtis's worst performances. I want to say half of her dialogue in this movie looks like she's reading off a cue card. And she did not get nominated in Worst Supporting Actress. Like, you can't nominate Cate Blanchett, who's doing an okay job in the lead role, and then not nominate Jamie Lee Curtis. That makes no sense to me when it comes to Borderlands. So yeah, I'm still, I'm not happy with that nomination. She should not be here, even though the movie does suck. Like, suck big time, But, so who is going to win Worst Actress? It better not be Cate Blanchett. I will be pissed. Lady Gaga could maybe win just because, she's so famous and, the Razzies want to stick it to Lady Gaga and say, screw off, like, don't make any more movies or whatever. I really think in this category, they have to go with Dakota Johnson for Madam Web. Like, she is just sleepwalking through that film. Like, she has no presence in that movie. She can be good in certain things, as I've talked about, like The Lost Daughter, starring Olivia Colman. Dakota Johnson is great in that movie. So, I mean, she has talent and she can be good in things. But Madam Web, she just looks confused the whole movie, like she doesn't even know what's going on. And ultimately, that's not entirely her fault. I guess she does her best with the really terrible material she's given. But, I feel pretty good that Madam Web wins Worst Picture. And no matter what happens in Worst Director, I feel like as long as Madam Web does take picture, they're probably going to give Worst Actress to Dakota Johnson. I mean, she was the face of that movie. She is the lead. She is all over that thing. And she's really bad in it. It's just a god-awful movie. Part of me thinks they might give this to Lady Gaga. And kind of like with Joaquin Phoenix, that would be so undeserved. Like, Lady Gaga has some really effective moments in Joker 2. But the movie gives her almost nothing to do, especially in the second half. I'm still shocked months later. Like, that they got Lady Gaga to play Harley Quinn in Joker 2, and she spends, the second half of the movie just sitting in courtrooms, not doing anything. I'm like, okay, great job. Like excellent work. Didn't someone, along the way say, well, we have Lady Gaga playing this really iconic character. Let's have her do some things in this movie. Let's make this kind of interesting. So, I mean, I guess she could win. I also did not care for Bryce Dallas Howard and Argylle, but I feel like that movie didn't get in very much at the Razzies, so she wouldn't win. Jennifer Lopez, they do not like Jennifer Lopez at the Razzies, but she's not taking this. Again, this better not go to Cate Blanchett. Like, I will be pissed if in the top 2 acting categories they give their prizes to Joaquin Phoenix and Cate Blanchett. Like, that will be just for their name recognition, not because they gave the worst performances of the year. That would be really silly. I think actress is going to Dakota Johnson. That's what I'm feeling right now. So my final prediction to win the Razzie for Worst Actress is Dakota Johnson, Madam Web. Okay, Worst Supporting Actor. The nominees are Jack Black, Borderlands, Kevin Hart, Borderlands, Shia LaBeouf, Megalopolis, Tahar Rahim, Madam Web, and Jon Voight for 4 films: Megalopolis, Reagan, Shadowland, and Strangers. Okay, I have a pretty good idea of who's going to win Worst Supporting Actor just based on like the nominations here and a certain someone getting into the category for 4 different films, 2 of which I haven't seen, but the other 2 being like truly horrific, awful performances. Jack Black and Kevin Hart in Borderlands, you know, they're more forgettable than anything else. Like Kevin Hart, I mean, talk about sleepwalking through a movie. Like, you forget at times that Kevin Hart is even in Borderlands. Like, he has nothing to do in that. It's very odd. I've said before, I think the most interesting performance in Megalopolis is Shia LaBeouf. And it's like, really? They gave him a Worst Supporting Actor nomination, and like Adam Driver came away unscathed in Worst Actor? That still surprises me that Adam Driver did not get in at the Razzies, because I think he is much worse in that movie, like as a performer, than Shia LaBeouf. He should not be here. I think the obvious winner here, the one I would vote for, the one I do think is going to take this, is Jon Voight, who I guess had a really bad 2024. I have never heard of the movies Shadowland and Strangers. I don't even know what those are. Like, I watched Borderlands and Reagan for all of you. I wasn't going to watch every single Razzie-nominated movie. I stopped at those top 2 nominated movies, especially when I got through Borderlands. I was like, okay, I need to go back to watching Oscar-nominated films. Like, I'm looking at the documentaries and things. I'm like, okay, let's watch some good stuff here. But yeah, I mean, you know, the performances in Reagan all over the place are terrible, really. And Jon Voight is one of the most embarrassing performances in that movie. Like, he plays old, and then he plays young. Like, they try to make Jon Voight look 20, 30 years younger, and it's like, no. It's not a good physical look, and he's got an accent in the movie, like he's playing like Russian or something, and I'm like, ugh, no. This is really bad. And of course, he was also terrible in Megalopolis. I mean, that scene of him on the bed, where he utters just one of the most baffling lines of dialogue in that 2-hour-plus movie. I haven't forgotten about Jon Voight's performance in Megalopolis. It's really bad, and if he was only nominated here for just Megalopolis and Reagan, I still think he takes it. Being nominated for these 2 other random movies, like, I would be surprised if they go with anyone but Jon Voight. So my final prediction to win Worst Supporting Actor at the Razzies is Jon Voight for all 4 of those movies. Now, Worst Supporting Actress is next. The nominees are Ariana DeBose, Argyle and Craven the Hunter, Leslie Ann Down, Reagan, Emma Roberts, Madam Web, Amy Schumer, Unfrosted, and F.K. Twigs, The Crow. Okay, I first have to say Penelope Ann Miller playing Nancy Reagan in Reagan, like, somehow missed a nomination here. And I mean, she probably barely missed, because that is not a good performance either. I would say she does a better job than Dennis Quaid, but you never get the sense that you're looking at Nancy Reagan. She's just kind of playing a version of herself in that movie. She's got like this one decent moment of emotion at the end. Maybe that's what saved her. Like, maybe that, like that 5-second moment at the end, Razzie voters were like, okay, we'll go easy on you, Penelope Ann Miller. She is nominated in Worst Screen Combo, as we'll get to. Instead, they went with Leslie Ann Down, who played Margaret Thatcher. And yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. It's pretty, it's pretty bad. Was it like one scene, maybe two? And then Emma Roberts, as I said, as I revealed in my reaction video to the Razzie nominations, I do not remember Emma Roberts being in Madame Web at all. Like, I watched that movie, and I'm like, Emma Roberts was in that? Was she in like one scene? I was not going to go back and watch it again. Sorry, I wasn't going to do that. So, I mean, so forgettable, I don't think Roberts is going to win this. I feel like in Worst Supporting Actress, sorry, Ariana DeBose, but especially because she's nominated here for 2 movies, and also she's in that new movie Love Hurts alongside Ke Huy Quan, and that's getting horrific reviews. What is it at, like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes? Ariana DeBose, man, you need a new agent or something. She's so talented. She's so freaking great in West Side Story. Her Oscar-winning performance. And then it's just been like one bad movie after another. I never saw Kraven the Hunter, but I have not heard good things. I mean, does she give a terrible performance in Argyle? Not really. She's like barely in it. What is she in? Maybe 3 or 4 minutes of that movie? Like, she's barely in that film. But I feel like because there's not someone else in the category I feel like is obvious. I mean, maybe they'll go with Leslie Ann Down in Reagan. Like, that's a pretty dumb performance, but even though it's brief, I feel like because DeBose is nominated here for 2 movies, and both were, you know, really, I guess, bad films of the year. Again, I didn't see Kraven the Hunter, but I've heard that it's really bad, and Argyle did make my list of the worst films of 2024. I feel like, especially with Love Hurts currently in theaters, like, I think they're probably going to go with DeBose here. So outside of a surprise, you know, I mean, maybe they'll go with Amy Schumer Unfrosted. I think she was one of the better things in that movie. I have not seen The Crow, so I don't know about that one. Again, I wasn't going to watch everything. Like, maybe I'll catch up with The Crow at some point. I don't know. But right now, I'm feeling Ariana DeBose. I'm hoping, like, maybe she doesn't win, because I really do admire her as an actress, and I hope she's got a great project coming soon. I would love to see her in a good movie again. Like, holy cow, come on, let's have that happen. But yeah, sorry, Ariana, but I gotta go with you here. My final prediction to win Worst Supporting Actress at the Razzies is Ariana DeBose for both Argyle and Kraven the Hunter. Okay, now we have Worst Screen Couple. This is not my favorite Razzie category this year. The nominees are any 2 obnoxious characters, but especially Jack Black, Borderlands, any 2 unfunny comedic actors, Unfrosted, the entire cast of Megalopolis, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, Joker Folie à Deux, and Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller as Ronnie and Nancy in Reagan. I have no idea about this category. I mean, it could literally go to any of these 5, and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Part of me thinks they'll go with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga because, again, they're the most high-profile actors in this category. They'll want to stick it to those 2 for, you know, giving bad performances according to the Razzies. I don't know. Again, I mean, I said that Todd Phillips probably wins Worst Director. I feel like the second Joker film is going to win at least 1, maybe 2 or 3. So part of me thinks they might go with those 2. I mean, my vote here would be the entire cast of Megalopolis. Like, you know, it's not really all their faults. They're just, you know, they're doing their best with the screenplay they were given. You know, right now, I don't have Megalopolis winning anything, so maybe I should go with it for one of these categories. I don't know. You know, it's confusing, those nominations for Borderlands and Unfrosted. I mean, you know, are they going to go kind of quirky here, go with kind of like that silly thing of like the entire cast? Or will they go with just 2 people in the screen combo? If they hate Reagan enough, maybe they'll go with Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller here. But Penelope Ann Miller did not get a Worst Supporting Actress nomination. So I feel like she's not there, so she's probably not winning here, right? See how I'm really analyzing the Razzies. Analyzing, well, Penelope Ann Miller missed that category, so they probably won't reward her in that one. This is really dumb, guys. This is really stupid. But you know, at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be Phoenix and Gaga. I mean, they might win Worst Actor and Worst Actress. They might shy away from Madame Web and go all in on Joker, Folie à Deux. That might happen. So let's say, you know, even if they were to lose in those top 2 acting categories, they could still give Phoenix and Gaga this one. And even though the entire cast of Megalopolis would be would be a well-deserved win, does the entire cast get a Razzie trophy? Everybody in that movie with a line of dialogue? I don't know. But I feel like those top 3, you know, they might just be silly enough that they don't win. And because Penelope Ann Miller is not nominated in Worst Supporting Actress, I'm going to go with Phoenix and Gaga here, sadly, because I actually liked them together in the movie. They needed a better movie. But yeah, I think they're going to take this one. My final prediction to win Worst Screen Combo at the Razzies is Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, Joker, Folie à Deux. All right, 2 categories left. We have Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. The nominees are The Crow, Joker, Folie à Deux, Kraven the Hunter, Mufasa, The Lion King, and Rebel Moon 2, The Scargiver. Okay, this has to be one of the easier categories to call of these. It's gonna be Joker 2, right? You don't see Mufasa or Rebel Moon 2 anywhere else, so they're not gonna win. The Crow, barely made a dent with nominations. That's not gonna win. Kraven the Hunter, in a way, is the only one here besides Joker 2 I could see maybe taking this. But Kraven the Hunter did not show up in Worst Picture, so why would that win over Joker 2, which is in Worst Picture? It's like at the Oscars, when we're trying to predict what's going to win Best International Feature, you often go with the movie in International Feature that's also in Best Picture. This year, it's a little bit up in the air because you have both Emilia Perez and I'm Still Here. Both of those are in picture, so it's not quite as easy this year as it sometimes is. You know, but the year of Parasites, you know, many of us were thinking, well, that's probably going to win Best Picture, so obviously it's also going to win Best International Feature. I think because Joker 2 is also in Worst Picture at the Razzies, it's I would say 99.9% it is winning Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. I would be very surprised and dumbfounded in a way if they went with something else, including even Kraven the Hunter. So my final prediction at the Razzies to win Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel is Joker, Folie à Deux. And the last category to talk about at this year's Razzies is Worst Screenplay. The nominees are Joker, Folie à Deux, Kraven the Hunter, Madame Web, Megalopolis, and Reagan. So I'm leaning toward Madame Web in Worst Screenplay because, yeah, that's a really bad screenplay. But could this be where they reward Francis Ford Coppola and Megalopolis? Maybe they go easy on him in director, but they give him Worst Screenplay. The screenplay he was working on for decades, since the 1980s. Wasn't he developing that movie for almost 40 years, something like that? So I guess they could go with Megalopolis here. Maybe they could go with Reagan, which is way too unfocused and sprawling. Basically Reagan should have been a documentary, a 2-hour documentary about Ronald Reagan's life. I didn't understand the purpose of just seeing his entire life for 2 hours plus being portrayed by Dennis Quaid, who doesn't look like Reagan, who doesn't really sound like Reagan. It was a very odd experience. I do think it's weird that Borderlands is not in Worst Screenplay. Come on, over Joker, Folie à Deux, which is a kind of a disappointing script. Borderlands barely has a screenplay. It is just all over the place. you know, it looks like a movie that had a screenplay of maybe 35 pages, you know, and then on the set they were just, you know, making things up, and the dialogue and scenes and situations and things like Borderlands should be in worst screenplay. I don't know why that's not here. I will be pissed if this goes to Joker 2. Like, even though that screenplay was disappointing and it, you know, is a big reason why that movie failed and doesn't work, like, it's not the worst screenplay of these. Like, Megalopolis is much worse. And especially, I would say, Madam Web. Like, that screenplay to Madam Web makes no sense. It is so dumb. I think that Madam Web is winning Worst Picture and Worst Actress. And we'll see what happens in Director. I don't know. But it's gotta win Worst Screenplay, right? So yeah, I mean, any one of these could take it, and I won't be that surprised, I guess. But my final prediction to win Worst Screenplay at the Razzies is Madam Web. Okay, done. That's my Razzie predictions video for you. I hope you liked it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time at the Awards Contender.